And in today's episode of the Ultimate Graphic Novels Collection, we're going to be reviewing X-Men Imperial. Right, so before I get into the actual reviewing of the book, usual stuff to get out there. Links in the description below to all of my social medias. Go follow them. Do it now. Do it. Then come back. Yeah. Go follow social medias. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my uploads. And also new hair. New hair is the weird. It is the big bad. I like it actually. I like my new hair. I'm getting used to it. It's a lot better than looking like a chubby Sean Evans. Now I kind of have a distinct style. I kind of like it. I really do like the new hair that I've got. X-Men Imperial, it's damn bloody good. I really like this. Introduces a lot of new mutants that are kind of secondary characters in this to the main X-Men team. There's more mutants. They do flesh out the idea of the whole school in this, and it's a continuation of the Cassandra Nova storyline. So they have to, beat Cassandra Nova after the whole incident. After the whole big incident in the last issue. Or in the last volume. But, yeah. This volume is quite good. It's a hefty, chunky book, so a lot of stuff happens here. Basically, Cassandra Nova, in the body of Professor Xavier, manages to control the minds of the entire Shi'ar Empire, bar one who gets sent to Earth and warns everyone of the invasion that is about to happen. But the Shi'ar Empire attacks the school, and there's a big fight that ensues. Cassandra Nova has a big fight with the X-Men. The two minds are replaced, and at the end of the very end of the book, Professor X can walk again. So that's interesting. That's cool. That's obviously something that they explored more going forward. Where my problems, that's all well and good, but it's all the latter half of the book. The first half of the book is a lot of sitting down talking again, and that's one of my main problems with the last volume. There was a lot of sitting down, a lot of talking, not a lot of going out doing stuff. Here, that's the same thing. Not a lot of going out, not a lot of fighting, not a lot of action. When they do have a chance to have an action set piece, it's kind of bogged down, and they prefer to spend the time with the characters that aren't in the action, rather than showing the people that are in the action. So they will have like set up to an action sequence, like Wolverine will be jumping in to fight, and then it will cut to, say, Beak and the Stepford Cuckoos talking to Emma Frost about the boyfriend who ended up being a invader from the Shi'ar Empire who was just spying on the Stepford Cuckoos. Also, who is paid to name superheroes? Right, so you have cool ones like Wolverine, Beast, Cyclops. Cyclops is kind of cool. And then you've just got the people that got lazy. It's like we can't think of a name for Jean Grey, a superhero name. We can call her Marvel Girl if you want, because she comes from the Marvel universe and she's a girl, so call her Marvel Girl. But most of the time she's just going to be called Jean Grey. And then you have the Stepford Cuckoos. Who came up with the Stepford Cuckoos? Whose idea is this? And why is it still a thing? Like, here it's five girls that all look like Emma Frost, that are all kind of arseholes. They're all kind of like, they all torment Beak. When Beak helps, Beak like is the most helpful part of the entire book. Him and Beast, the most helpful part of the entire book. Beak basically comes out and he's like, right, so you want to find out their plan? That person you've got under your control is one of them. One of the Imperial Guard. Why don't you use your telepathy powers to read his mind? Why have you not thought of this before? I know Emma Frost, the actual useful part of the team at that point in that scenario, is kind of, you know, she's got this gold like head helmet on, so she can't do anything. They're trying to find a way to get that off. He's like, right, read the thing's mind, and they're like, that's such a good idea. Why didn't we think of that? Why didn't you think of that? You're telepaths. You are, for the whole entire book, you have been talking about how your 5 brains put together is one huge hive mind that's the most powerful brain in the entirety of Earth. Yet you got outsmarted by a guy who's a chicken. The guy whose power is he's literally a chicken. So that's a tangent and a half. We do get some really cool moments though, like Xorn. Xorn is a really cool character. He's a really good idea as well. I don't know what they did with him later on, but here he just seems like a guy that's just bought in. You know, he doesn't know what's going on. He gets kidnapped by the Shi'ar Empire. He gets stuck in this cannon. He's about to be blasted into space with Cyclops, and he's just like, I don't like it here. Can we get out now, please? And Cyclops is like, your brain is his son. That person is powered by solar energy. I think you know what to do. And then he's like, oh, okay, thanks. I fucking love Xorn. He is the best character. Apparently they did some weird stuff with him, where he's apparently Magneto, but he's not Magneto, but then he is Magneto, but Magneto died, and then Magneto came back as Xorn, but Xorn was already a character before, and it's all very confusing, and it's Grant Morrison, so I wouldn't expect otherwise. And that's where the other interesting thing about this book comes out, is that they introduce this idea that Cassandra Nova is a Mumadrai to Professor X. What that basically means is it's basically an opposite, an opposing end of the spectrum. I explained in the previous when I talked about the previous arc, that Professor X tried to kill his sister in the womb, and she was born as a stillborn baby, but the essence of Cassandra Nova still lived, and it had to copy the DNA of Professor Xavier, including his telepathic powers. And when they changed brains, Professor X basically became he basically became kind of a vegetable, a dribbling vegetable. He wasn't a human being. He wasn't at least a functioning human being. Then when their like brains got swapped back together at the end, it was Cassandra Nova who became a vegetable, and it was Professor X who got like super beefed up. But yeah, there's another problem that I have with this book as well, because it is so long and because it contains so much. They obviously went through a cycle of artists, and the only explanation I can think for this is that either X-Men at this point, New X-Men, was a bi-weekly release. Usually what that means, and when a book is a bi-weekly release, is they can't afford to have, or the same artist can't keep up with the workload, because they'll either have multiple books that they're working on, or getting a book out for twice if not 3 times a month. That's a lot of workload, if you think about it. And then when you put on that working on several books on that month, yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. So they will have to change artists almost every other issue, and it hurts a book, which is why I think that no title, no matter how popular, should be bi-weekly, especially not Spider-Man. Spider-Man's supposed to be your flagship title. It should be your best. It should have your best quality, you know. And X-Men as well. X-Men is your best seller. X-Men should have the best quality put into it. And a lot of the art here, Frank Quietly is fine. Frank Quietly, he has this kind of thing where there's a lot of like wrinkling, and there's a lot of moulding, and there's a lot of weird stuff with the skin features, and it's kind of it's very bumpy. His artwork is very bumpy. There's a lot of bumps in his artwork. I'm gonna try and see if I can get a good Frank Quietly picture, or a good bit of Frank Quietly art. I guess here you can kind of see there's a decent look at Frank Quietly's art. It's okay, it's good, it's decent, but then you have artwork like this that's not quite as good, and the stepping quality goes from that to that to that. It's like a scattergraph that's been drawn by Michael J. Fox. It's not good. It does end very well, and the ending is very interesting. I'd like to see where they go forward with it. But obviously, looking back now, we know where it went with it, and now Professor X is kind of dead, so it doesn't matter that he's walking from this point in 2001, when we know in 2019 he died. He died a few years ago now at the hands of Cyclops. Spoilers for a book that's been out for several years, you know. But yeah, X-Men Imperial it's an amazing idea. It's an amazing idea for a book, for an X-Men story. It's such a good idea. But what Grant Morrison does is he has these amazing ideas, and he will focus on the least interesting part of that and try to make it deep. He will try and make a deep thing out of something that's not really interesting, and the the reader won't be interested in, and he'll try and make that the focus, and the focal point of the storyline will be the least interesting thing, and the most interesting thing, which is mostly the action and seeing X-Men fight villains. That's why we read comic books, isn't it? Is to see larger than life superheroes fighting larger than life supervillains. It's not seeing larger than life superheroes sitting down talking. I know X-Men is meant to be this sprawling soap opera, but at least have a little bit of action in each issue, you know, or not even that, have like, don't have literally half of the book be full on conversation. Break up the conversation with action so you don't bore the reader, is basically what I'm trying to say. I think I got my message across. I will rate X-Men Imperial, I give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's not perfect, it's not amazing, but it is a very solid concept. Some of the artwork in this, especially the stuff by Ethan Van Sciver, Ethan Van Sciver is very good. I like his style of artwork. It's very stylized, it's very kind of neo-realistic, but it still has that that comic booky flair to it. And some of the character moments that you have with Beast, and with Xorn are very good. I like those bits. It's just they're not focused on enough. So 7 out of 10. See you guys in the next video. Peace.